With his remains now back in Iran, the numbers on the streets looked genuinely remarkable. This is a country which has ways of ensuring the desired image is presented, and it is a regime under pressure at home, but still, this was quite a display. As the images were broadcast live, Iran's foreign minister on Twitter was goading the American president. Have you ever seen such a sea of humanity in your life, Mr. Trump, he said. Do you imagine you can break the will of this great nation and its people? The star speaker was the assassinated general's daughter.
Crazy Trump, arrogance and a plaything of Zionism. Don't think that everything is over with my father's martyrdom. My father had a father who stood by his side, and we too, like our father, will stand by him.
Allahu Akbar.
The country's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, led the mourning. Soleimani was effectively his right-hand man, his foreign policy enforcer. His death certainly impacts Iran's strategic capability for now, but at what cost? The grief followed the coffin to the holy city of Qom. This will continue to gather in momentum ahead of the burial in the hours ahead. In Baghdad, where he cultivated the government and where he died, Iraq's top politicians and former leaders met for a service of condolences for the killing. The Prime Minister spoke by phone to Boris Johnson, who urged him not to expel British soldiers from the country. They are there to train Iraqis trying to defeat ISIS. He also met the UN's Iraq representative. Behind the smiles and the phone calls, though, we have no idea if anything positive emerged. What is clear is that America's deep footprint across the region is now at risk, long-term but short-term too. Embassies are under imminent threat of attack. They are already fortresses, but here in Beirut, the Americans know that even fortresses can be hit. In 1983, 2 bombings at the embassy and a marine barracks killed 258 Americans. Iran's proxy here, Hezbollah, is widely believed to have been responsible. And across the city's Hezbollah neighborhoods, Soleimani is now mourned.
In the next few weeks, we will see it unravel further.
Mohanad Haj Ali specializes in analyzing Hezbollah, Iran, and their relationship.
But the question is, if the Iranians are going to launch an attack, let's say, on the U.S. bases, on U.S. troops in Iraq or elsewhere in the region, how would the U.S. respond? Would it respond in Iran or would it respond within Iraq? For the Iranians, proxy conflicts are about keeping the conflict away from Iran's borders, keeping it away from Iran, using other battlefields, other populations in the conflict, rather than having a direct confrontation with the U.S., because they would lose in a direct confrontation with the U.S.
The American rationale for the assassination was to disrupt Iranian influence and meddling across the region. But that influence has become so ingrained over decades that Iran can now use its vast network to threaten America on multiple fronts. With this authorized mass movement of grief, it feels like the Iranian regime is committing itself and its people to a firm reprisal. But what? And what then? Mark Stone, Sky News in Beirut.